So as we have been doing for some time now, you all know today, um, after our practice of mindful walking and mindful sitting, we are going to provide a support to the practice, which we call discussion supportive factor. And there are four other supportive factors, which are supportive morality supportive factor, listening supportive factor, and discussion supportive factor, and concentration and insight supportive factors, right? So I'm not going to go into details of the supportive factors unless you want me to. So I would like you to take up a topic or provide a report so that we can discuss on it. Report in the sense, report about your walking and sitting.
I've never noticed before in the trees. They're all just varying shades. So then I went back to just walking. I came in here to sit, but I got a cough and I had to go outside because I didn't want to disturb anyone.
Yeah.
And then I thought I'd roast what I was having.
Mm.
But it was beautiful because I have never noticed so many different variations of green. And it's just quite an... Oh, and the other thing I noticed is the aging branches on the trees. You can watch it actually age.
Yeah.
Because they're going to fall because they're ready to die. And I'd never noticed that before.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, no, it's interesting that you are noticing those things. On one hand, it is showing that the mind is becoming sharper and sharper. And even of the same thing, you see the variations. Even the green color, there are so many shades of it. And you can notice that it has been there ever since you have been coming here. But you never noticed because we were not sensitive enough. So in that regard, the faculties are getting sharper. On the other hand, the mind is always trying to give the vividity of the nature outside rather than bringing your attention to the walking process as such. So it's again another trick of the mind. Although the mind is getting sharper, it does not let you to have the attention to the body.
But then it doesn't take over because I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then I let it go and then I just go back into my walking.
That's very good. But still, since you can come back to walking, that is a very good skill because that is what we call resilience. That is what we call resilience. Because we are being affected by the factors outside. But still, we don't fight with them. We just appreciate them. When you appreciate them, what happens is your mind comes back to the body. When the mind comes back to the body, we should have the same appreciation that you had when it was outside. So you should be able to provide when that happened. Okay, my mind came to the left foot, placing the heel on the floor. I felt warmness or coldness or roughness, whatever. And then I was observing this, and I was able to do it for so many steps. So if you can appreciate the fact that it has come to your body and provide more information, mind is getting more and more used to be with the body rather than going outside. Now you have the skill, but still the appreciation is happening outside. That appreciation should come inside. And it's not a mistake. This is how the U-turn takes. Right? So now you know what the mind is doing. So when you know, before that we didn't know. So that knowing itself is an advantage.
Yeah, so it's like I just get amazed at what is happening. Once upon it, I just look at it and go, it's just green. Now I look at it and I go, oh my God, look at all that.
Yeah.
It's like a kaleidoscope of colour that
Yeah.
I hadn't actually
Yeah.
seen, but I can bring my awareness back.
Yeah.
But and then I sat here and I just got this cough and I thought, I've got to, that's what I did. I just left.
Yeah, no, I mean, going out is fine, but not necessary. I mean, you know, you do that for benefit of us. It's not for your benefit. But given the conditions that we have in the world today, especially cough is the worst thing people may think.
Yeah.
So you naturally, when you're about to sneeze, you just run out. So you have done that for our benefit. But if we can concentrate or bring your awareness to the cough, how it starts, how it develops, and how it ultimately comes out.
I tried that. I tried to suppress it. I tried everything and I thought, no, I've got to go outside.
Yeah.
And I tried to be as quiet as possible to go out there.
Yeah. So it's don't try to suppress it.
Pardon?
Don't try to suppress it. It can come out. But only thing is we will have to just observe the process.
And then will it dissolve or go away?
It might dissolve. There have been instances in my case it dissolves. There are most of the time, 98% of the time it comes out because it's a natural occurrence. It's a natural occurrence.
So I should just cough in here.
I mean, you can go out. I mean, it is because of the conditions that we have today. But in the past, in our retreats, we tell everybody,
yes,
when you're about to sneeze, when you're about to cough, don't run out. You just cough here. So that on one hand, you will not be disturbed and you will have the opportunity to observe it. And on the other hand, other people will have an opportunity to have the awareness when there is a disturbance.
Okay. So it's a lesson for everyone.
Yeah, it's a lesson for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Do you have anything?
With my walking, I think I find it more difficult to be mindful because walking is something I'm used to doing to process my thoughts. It's a natural thing that I turn to when I do have something to think through.
Yeah.
So it's more difficult on that part. And then also being mindful of all of the different sensations of the feet.
Yeah.
And there's so many. I think, you know, in the sitting meditation, you're observing things that come up and you're only concentrating on one body part and you see how it changes over time. Whereas with the walking meditation, it's changing constantly.
Yeah.
And the awareness support and that sort of thing. And then, between the more prickly bits of grass and the softer bits and the warmer bits and the colder bits, and there's so much happening underfoot that it's even harder to concentrate on.
Yeah, right. Yes, good. From the point of view of mindfulness, how do you see that? I agree that it is difficult to concentrate, but from mindfulness point of view, how do you see that?
I think because I find it more difficult, I then go into other thoughts and things because I feel like almost like I'm doing it wrong.
Right.
There's too many things to pay attention to. So I can't, you know, when I don't understand how to pay attention to one foot landing and another foot lifting up. They're two very different body parts and I can't give the same concentration to both. So I feel like I can't be mindful.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental attribute of the mind, which is we have this permanent notion. We think that things are permanent. And also we have the notion that we can control things, right? Because of those two notions, right, we are not used to changing things. Now, although you are complaining about your walking, for me it's a perfect walking. The reason is you have seen the changes. You have seen it is changing constantly. And you have seen that you have no say over it, right? So that is how you see the mind. This is not your idea about it. This is what the mind tells you to tell me, right? So if you actually see the report, in the report you have seen so many sensations that you are experiencing while walking, and you are seeing so many changes in the legs. And the leg is, when one leg is being lifted, the other leg is being placed. When one is being moved, the other is being lifted. And a lot of things are happening. So what it is, these are not permanent, right? So you have seen that impermanence nature. So the mind never appreciated. Mind wants to have a permanent thing. Okay, if I take my left foot, I should see only the left foot, even of the left foot, only this. And that is why even the instructions is given, have your attention to the sole of the foot. And then see what sensations you feel and see to what extent you feel. That is a trick we make. So that you will try to bring the attention, and you yourself will one day come and tell, it's not working for me. Which means you have seen the truth, right? And the other side of it is, mind is trying to appreciate concentration than the mindfulness, right? Concentration means we have one thing and we are hooked onto it and we enjoy that. That is not what we are teaching. That is not what he has taught. Concentration has been taught before he was born. His teaching was mindfulness and to know the impermanence, to see that there is no self controlling these things. These are things happening based on the dependent origination, right? These are processes, right? So it's a perfect walking. So what you will have to, therefore, when you present the report, what you will have to do is take the word concentration out. I did my walking. These are the things that I observed. In fact, in that walking, your attention has gone to the walking process. So you have seen the walking is happening naturally, right? So that's a good improvement.
So is it a different kind of mindfulness than to sitting? Because, like, I find it difficult to only concentrate on the soles of the feet, and because also I want to concentrate on just one foot, like you're saying, the right foot or the left foot. But, you know, why should I stop thinking about the right foot when it's midair? Because there's still sensations when it's in the middle and not on the ground. But I have to swap to the left foot because that's the one on the ground now.
Yeah, that is how the mind is coming and asking you. Now you have the control. You try to take the control of one. Whereas you, in your own eyes, you see that there is no control. It is moving, right? So when that happens, what you will have to do is you will have to take a step back. Show me the movie. I will be in the balcony with the popcorn and then watch the movie. So the walking is happening. I'm just observing like a child.
So can I observe a bigger part of my body rather than just the soles of my feet? Because I feel like when I observe my hips, that is much easier to do because it's a fluid movement side to side.
Yeah.
Whereas my feet is one foot, other foot. One.
Yeah.
So can I concentrate more on my legs and the process of walking rather than the soles of my feet?
Yeah. I would take the word concentration out of the equation. You can try to pay attention to whatever that comes up. You start with the sole of the foot, and if the attention goes to many things, and if the attention goes to the process, let it be so. That is not just mindfulness. That is the continuation of mindfulness. That is what the Blessed One says. We should have a clear comprehension led by mindfulness. And that is what is happening, because you see the whole process. It is not just one point. And still the mind is trying to promote you, motivate you to take one point. That is why you're asking about the hip, whether I have the attention to the hip. No, you take the lower part of the body and try to be mindful of that. And based on that, if it keeps changing, let it change, and you change accordingly, and keep observing whatever that comes up. And in that process, if you see the whole body, doesn't matter. You observe the whole body, but you should be able to very clearly tell, this is what I am doing, and this is what I see. Then it's an improvement. That's how what we try to do is basically bring the attention that is outside to the body. So here the attention has come to the body now. So Buddha is the winner. All right. What about sitting? You like sitting, I think, by the sound of it.
Yes.
Yes.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the sitting one, I get something that I don't know if it's normal or if it's strange.
Yeah.
But oftentimes I feel that my body is not, it's not centered. I feel that I know that I'm sitting upright, but I feel almost like there's this heaviness over on the left side of my body that's quite circular, and then like an emptiness on the right side. And sometimes I almost get very dizzy sitting still. I'm aware that I'm sitting still, but I feel as though I'm spinning in circles from this great weight, especially in my head on the left-hand side. And I don't know, like that was happening today, and it happens quite often, and I don't know if it's...
Does it happen quite often, or?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So that is also good observation. And having said that, before coming on to the details of it, what I would say is why we do walking and sitting practices to improve two different qualities of the spiritual path. By walking, we improve the energy, right? Energy in the sense, as you have said, so many things are happening. Not only in the walking process, in balancing our body weight on one leg, but keeping the eyes open as well. And you know what happens when the eyes are open. You know what happens when the eyes are open. Earlier you have seen just one color. Now you start seeing so many shades of it. And like that. So this, when all these things are there, to maintain your mindfulness, you need a different type of energy. Now energy, what we see is, we sweat out and we work very hard. It is not that energy we are talking about. This is a spiritual energy. When all these forces are coming against us, we have another energy which does not sweat us, but it's much more harder to do. And with that energy has to be balanced with the concentration. The concentration is what we don't really try to concentrate even there, but in sitting, you don't have many variables. It is much more controlled environment. In that controlled environment, it is easier to be mindful on the object, and you very easily get absorbed, right? So you can neither work in absorbed mentality, nor with extended energy all the time. So we have got to have a good mix of these two. To make that mix only, we are doing these two, right? So therefore, from these two skills, it will naturally cascade down into our day-to-day work. So this is why we are doing mindful walking and mindful sitting, to balance the two factors, right? We can't have one without the other, and one is complementing the other, if you really do it in the right way. And the other thing that I want to say, so far as the report is concerned, it is better if you can start with saying what you observed with the actual breath, right? But it has worked, although you are not given it has worked from the other information that you have given. In the walking, you very clearly mentioned that it is so many sensations and so many things are happening. I can't bring the attention. So I understand what you're trying to say. Similarly, in the breath also, if you can say a few words, at least 2 lines, then we know how it is working. Having said that, if you start feeling the whole body and emptiness on one side and heaviness on the other, what the Blessed One says is, through the breath, your attention goes to the body. And your attention has come to the body even while walking, which you mentioned that you felt even up to the hip, the lower part of the body. And here, upper part of the body, your attention has come. And when the attention comes to the body, you don't see a body as such. You see the general physics. General physics is heaviness, lightness, softness, hardness, coolness, warm, and things like that. So that you have very clearly seen, right? So then you go away from the body. You can't say that it is body anymore, right? So this is how we go into deeper layers of our physicality. And when those things are happening, you can now know breath. You will have to observe that heaviness. That has become me, you keep observing that heaviness. You have very clearly seen that it is happening on 2 different sides differently. That is because, one side of our brain is only we are using. The other side we don't use. But we are challenging that by not paying attention to anything but observing whatever is happening. So that ability is available on the other side of the brain, which we are not using. So when these 2 are now getting activated, one is troubled by, why the hell I'm not given a chance? The other is troubled by, oh, someone is tapping my door. So it's now getting opened up. So this is why it says for some time you have been seeing something in your head, right? So it's a good sign that the process is going well. Give it up. Right.
It's weird because it feels almost like you're on a child game sort of thing with like a stick that's spinning around.
Yeah.
You're like leaning
Yeah.
It's all happening over here and
Yeah.
the sides
Yeah.
almost empty.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah.
But okay. Stick with it.
Yeah. And try to get more and more information when you have those things. Be aware of it. That's the most important thing. We can have another 8 minutes if you want to say something, if anyone wants to say something.
Thank you.
Is he allowed? Right.
I hear all the time, like people are saying, even meditators, but usually I hear from non-meditators, like they say they don't meditate and they're like, oh, I observe the thoughts. And they say it's, mindfulness on mind. But I was thinking about with our discussions that we're having, at no point in time when we talked about mindfulness in mind, was there any mention of observing thoughts? Why do they say that?
To be frank, I did not understand the question.
Okay, I'll say it again. So I hear from meditators,
And not meditators.
but also mainly non-meditators,
Yeah.
that they observe thoughts and they consider that mindfulness of the mind, or
Yes.
the third part
Yes.
of 4 foundations of mindfulness.
Yeah.
But when we went through mindfulness of the mind, at no point in time was there mention of thoughts specifically. Like there's things mentioned, but not specifically like addressing thoughts. Why do they sort of come up with this idea mindfulness of the mind is observing thoughts?
Okay. So makes sense. Hope you understand the question. The question is, we have discussed mindfulness of the mind, which is a range that Buddha is asking us to observe. But whereas he's asking, why we observe the thoughts as mindfulness of the mind. Why we consider that as mindfulness of the mind. Is that right? Yeah. So that is an object as well. Yeah. So the first question is why observing thoughts is considered as mindfulness of the mind is because mind is having four basic things. One is the feelings, and the other is perception, mental volitions, and the consciousness itself, right? So feelings we completely deal with separately. That is when we have mental feelings and bodily feelings, likings and dislikings, and comforts and discomforts, right? So that is not what we are talking here. So one part of the mind is away out of this question. When it comes to perceptions and mental volitions, they appear as thoughts. Sometimes you may have internal chatter going while practicing, right? You may be talking to yourself. There is one person asking questions, another person giving questions, all in one head. Right? This internal chatter is going on. So these are either, it may be perceptions, it may be mental volitions. Without the details, I exactly can't tell it is, but it may be a composition of these two, right? So if you can keep on observing that, that is mindfulness of the mind, right? But Blessed One is going a bit more further. Blessed One says, if you see those things, don't see them as just thoughts. See what type of thoughts, right? If you can clearly see it is, thoughts relating to, they are thoughts, right? Thoughts relating to sensual pleasure. You observe that I have thoughts relating to sensual pleasure, right? Which means you have sensual pleasure. And he does not stop there. He says you keep on observing until that fades away, and observe when there are no sensual pleasure as well. Because it's the range in the mind when the sensual pleasure comes. Similarly, hatred. Similarly, delusion. Right? When you feel sleepiness, it's the shade in the mind. Right? So, but in this case, they are sticking their meditation object only to the first two, which is sensual desires and the hatred or ill will, right? But mindfulness of the mind is having, I think, 4 or 5 spiritual layers. They don't touch that part. And by doing this, by being aware of the thoughts, if you really do it, you will have to see the full range. Once you see the full range, the sudden flood stops. Or in other words, we block the flow of the river. When you block the flow of the river, huge pressure builds up. And that building of the pressure, you feel in the body. Right? So these people, therefore, one or the other time, they start feeling the pressure in the body. Then they should be able to talk about it. They will have to be aware of it. It may be, I'm not saying it is always unpleasant pressure. It may be a pleasant one as well, but it may be reflected through our body. So we should be ready for that. And this is why Buddha is not straight away going into the observation of the thoughts. He first let us master the body, because this is the platform. This is the stage. If our stage is not strong, the actors can't do their dance. Right? So this is why I start with the body. And when you are happy with our body, when we go into the fine layers of the body, anything that the mind comes up, our mind is sharp enough to see them. I'm not quite sure whether I answered the question, but I said what I want to say. Yeah. Right. So I think it would be a good idea for us to stop now, because these people are getting ready to come in. So we will do the concluding section of the program, and which is transferring the positive energies we have gathered to whoever who are able to receive and rejoice them. For that, we will chant the usual stanzas we have.